Donald Trump gave Iran 48 hours ultimatum, threatened to destroy every power station in the country, and called it, and I quote, peace through strength. 48 hours later, he announced a 5-day ceasefire. He said he was having a very productive talks with Iran. Iran said, and I am paraphrasing here, we have no idea what he's talking about. So either there are talks and Iran is lying, or there are no talks and Trump is the one lying. Given the track record, I'll let you guys decide. So let's continue. The scorecard of this entire event since February 28th, Trump announced the war on Iran with 5 goals: topple the Iranian regime, destroy the ballistic missiles, dismantle the nuclear program, eliminate Iran's proxies across the region, and he added one later, which is force open the Strait of Hormuz. 23 days later, let's have a check on how that scoreboard looks like. Regime, still standing. Ballistic missiles, still flying. Nuclear program, still running. Proxies in Iraq and Lebanon and Yemen, still active. Once in Yemen didn't join yet though. Hormuz, Iran still has control over it. In fact, they are going to impose a $2 million tariff or a fee to pass through it. So 0 for 5 in 23 days. Now, Trump responds to this, onto this scorecard, was to go on Truth Social and say approximately 22 times we have destroyed Iran. 22 times. If you destroy something 20 times, it was never destroyed to begin with. And now here is where it gets interesting. Trump's own Treasury Secretary, his friend, his guy, said something a few days ago that nobody highlighted. Sometimes you have to escalate in order to de-escalate. That is a confession. That is the Treasury Secretary of the United States admitting in public that the 48-hour ultimatum was a pressure tactic, not a real threat, a negotiation move, the art of the deal, his own book, applied to a war. The problem is, Iran didn't read his book. Iran hit back harder and struck US bases across the Gulf, hit Ben Gurion Airport, Tel Aviv, Haifa, and other important targets. And the missile caught live on Fox News, punched through the Iron Dome. Fox cut the feed before it landed, but the world saw it. Go check Fox News if you want to see the images. And here is the part that should make the Gulf nations furious. America launched strikes on Iran from bases on Gulf soil. They published videos of missiles launching from a Gulf desert, fully knowing Iran would retaliate on Gulf infrastructure, on Gulf oil fields, on Gulf civilians, and did it anyway. And guess what? Trump blamed his Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, that, oh, I didn't know it. My advisors didn't tell me this is gonna happen. Qatar's energy minister warned Washington before the war. He warned them again when they bombed the South Pars gas field, a field shared between Qatar and Iran. That single strike cut Qatar's gas production by 17%. 17% of the world's largest LNG exporter gone. Nobody listened because the Gulf wasn't the target. The Gulf was the shield. And the man who needs this war, the part that very rare people talk about, the man driving all of this, Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu is under an international arrest warrant. The ICC, the same court Trump sanctioned, the same court they tried to destroy by smearing its chief prosecutor. That prosecutor was just fully cleared of all charges and he's back, still coming for Netanyahu. And Netanyahu can travel to a dozen of countries. He faces corruption charges at home. Lebanon is burning. The Israeli public is asking questions. And if this war ends, he faces all of it. This war is not Israel's security strategy. This war is Benjamin Netanyahu's personal insurance policy. And Israel has been doing everything to keep it going. Assassinated Ali Larijani, the man who was reportedly the most likely Iranian negotiating partner. Killed him before any deal could happen. And there are reports of Israeli drones using Iranian Shahid drone signatures. Probably they got the Lucas drone from the US military to strike Gulf infrastructure and blame Iran. Remember the false flag operation I told you about? They want to drag Saudi Arabia into the war along with other Gulf nations. The reason because of that is if Saudi Arabia enters the war, the entire Gulf follows. Iran is surrounded, and Israel gets the regional war it needs to finalize the map it's been drawing since 1948. The most important preparation, it looks like a preparation to me, less of a ceasefire. While Trump was announcing talks and peace and productivity, US Marine units were moving from Japan to the Middle East. The 82nd Airborne troops, American Rapid Deployment Forces, was activated from North Carolina. Naval reinforcements were increasing in the region. Of course, there are those who are already here. There are those coming from South Korea, from Japan. And you don't move the 82nd Airborne Regiment for a peace negotiation. You move it for a land operation. Possibly the seizure of Kharj Island, Iran's choke point on the Strait of Hormuz, possibly an attempt to seize the 450 kilograms of enriched uranium before Iran weaponizes it. Possibly something we haven't thought of yet. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about that. The 5 days end when the market closes on Friday. And Trump has a pattern. Threaten on weekdays, act on weekends when markets are closed. Now, another factor here, and here's the part of the story that keeps the American economists up at night. Japan, America's closest ally in Asia, the country America protects militarily, started buying Russian oil in Chinese yuan, not dollars, yuan. Other countries are buying Iranian oil openly. Sanctions are eroding. Russian oil is moving outside America's control. America's entire global dominance rests on one thing: oil priced in dollars. When that shifts, the leverage shifts. Trump went to war to restore American dominance over trade routes, over oil dominance, and over economy. And his own allies are quietly abandoning the dollar while he's doing that. And another thing that Trump has to watch for is Trump has a clock ticking. The midterm elections in November, which are 6 months away, if Republicans lose the House, the impeachment files open. Epstein, the economy, Venezuela, the Iran war, and his own base, MAGA, they are all starting to ask, what exactly are we getting from this war? Joe Kent, the head of the National Counterterrorism Council, resigned over this war and he called Trump a liar directly. The crack isn't just abroad, it's inside the White House. And the verdict, so let's be honest about what this is not a war about Iran's nuclear program. If it were, you don't bomb first and negotiate later. This is not a war about American security. America wasn't attacked. The Gulf was. This is not even a war about the Strait of Hormuz or any other assets there, because Iran didn't close it with guns. Trump closed it by pulling the insurance. No insurance, no ships, no oil. He broke the strait, then blamed Iran for it. And what this actually is a war between the East and the West over who controls the world energy, its trade routes, and its financial system. America wants oil priced in US dollars. China and Russia are building an alternative, and Israel rushed this war because its regional ambitions require Iran weakened, and the weakened Middle East, Arab against Arabs, Gulf against Iran, is the only condition under which greater Israel becomes a possibility. And the people paying for all of this are not Trump, not Netanyahu, who, by the way, can't leave the country without getting arrested. It's the family in Qatar whose gas bills tripled, the family in Europe facing the same scenario because a field they share with Iran got bombed. It's the 32 civilians in Bahrain hit by American Patriot missile that misfired from the base that was supposed to protect them. It's Europe, Australia, Japan, every country whose energy costs just got decided by two men who were never elected by them. And 5 days, that's what the region has after that. Nobody knows, not Trump, not Iran, and not Israel. And that right there is the most terrifying sentence. I have said in this entire video, I want you to answer one question in the comments. After 23 days of war, Zero goals achieved. Gulf nations paying the price. Japan buying oil in yuan and a man with an arrest warrant driving the entire thing. Who exactly is winning here? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know your opinion and what you think.